Hey everyone, just recording just in case people can't make it. So I set this meeting up a little last minute. I really appreciate your availability and ability to get here. I planned it to be earlier next week, but I popped onto Cindy Blake's calendar and it's QBRs next week. So I was like, oh no, there's no availability. So that's why we're a little bit late. Or I'm a little bit late in getting the invite out. So purpose of the meeting, just a quick kickoff for this information architecture refresh. I covered a lot of this in our group conversation, and I have a video walking through the what and the why. And I wanted to get this group together primarily to have single points of contact for elements that's in our in the agenda here. So I'll just share that real quick of like, what is this? Why are we here? What's going on? So the goal in simplest terms, make the marketing site smaller. It's so big. We want to make it more effective. So this is just like a fancier way of saying that with more words. Roles and responsibilities. Again, this is just my first take on it. Happy to iterate, but I was thinking Jess leading the design of this. I know Jess, you and I worked on a whole bunch of this kind of work in the past, and you led the redesign of the navigation. So I just felt like you popped into mind here. Lauren, obviously, I mean, you're the engine of our team, and I figure having your skill set in terms of full stack engineering and knowing the pipeline is going to be really valuable when we figure out how we're going to make I don't know, I'm trying to avoid using the word dev site, but like, I feel like we need to build the thing beside the thing and then just, take the railway tracks and point it at the new one. Content, so Cindy and Val and, oh yeah, Val, you made it. And Sandra as well. Adam, brand, asset needs, alliances, still trying to figure that out. I'm going to check in with Colleen Greco and see who she recommends. Niall for SEO. Francis, the competitive pages that we're going to have, customer reference, Jen and Laura, and then Alex to keep that e-commerce mindset. And also, I know you have this superpower of like using Salesforce and getting weird data sets connected in a really valuable way. So you popped into mind. Starting off like you're jumping on a freight train. That's kind of what I'm hoping this whole experience is like. Like I haven't been able to think of a nicer term. So if there's like little kid ears in the vicinity, I'll say it quietly. But the theme I was thinking for this group is we don't talk shit, we do shit. Like this needs to be really action oriented. It's a very, very short timeline. We have time to iterate, we have time to talk things through and make sure we do it right. But I'm always concerned with big kind of ambiguous projects like this, that the talking overtakes the doing. And then every day we're talking puts more pressure on the doing. I'll pause there, open it up for some conversations or input.
I just made a quick note there, Michael, too. And this is something we can discuss, but Christina Weiss has been mentioned as potentially being part of that content team. So that might be something that we can discuss, like Val and Cindy and stuff, just to make sure that we know exactly who's doing what.
You can count on it being me. I don't know if she's going to get involved, but at the higher level, yeah. Just gonna say you don't need like 50 content people on this call is my point. So you might as well go with me as the starting point because I have visibility into both content marketing and the blog.
Sounds good. Thanks, Val.
Awesome. Yeah, and like we'll have a working group, like we'll add more people. Well, okay, I said working group. I'm actually doing everything I can do to avoid using that terminology working group because there's like a whole list of things you got to go through and set up another like handbook page, which not against handbook pages, but I do feel like we have, I worry about creating a second source of truth. So we have this epic, and this has everything that would be on that handbook page. So I don't know what I'd call us, like our working team, as single points of contact. So if I need to talk to somebody about brand, I'm going to go talk to Adam. I'm not expecting Adam's the one that's going to whip open Figma and make the thing we need, but we just know who to talk to get the action that we need. In the Slack channel, information architecture refresh, we can add everybody who's going to be working on this. Like my entire team is focused on this quarter, this and brand rollout. I thought really hard yesterday, should we be talking about brand rollout? Like, should that be the same project? And I'd like to have a division between those projects, because getting this done means we have a smaller, more contained, manageable experience that's going to make it way easier to roll out the brand. So it's not a hard this then that, but this work really makes that work a lot more manageable. So yeah, I also don't expect to have like a weekly or bi-weekly meeting. That's kind of what I wanted to get into in process. So if we're good to jump down there, I'm happy to do so. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to put words
just
to?
have just a quick question in terms of, I know you were just mentioning restrained timelines for development and it's going to happen this quarter. So just from an SEO perspective, I'm just wondering, because I know one of the main priorities is to reduce the overall bulk of the site. So from the perspective now, have you got is it a system where you have identified pages already you're thinking of reducing from the map, or is it a case of you need analysis done to identify what pages can be reduced from the overall bulk of the site?
That's a good question. I don't have a super thorough answer. Basically, what I'm thinking is if it's not on this list, it could be removed. Now, for example, I want to move away from this idea of topics. I would love us to start saying category leadership. It's the same thing. But I know we have excellent results. Page 1 for DevOps as of yesterday. Saw that message, loved it. I know that the way we get there from SEO perspective is we have DevOps and we have some child pages that are supporting that. We're not getting rid of those. Like the goal here is not to knock everybody out at the knees for simplicity. But I am going to put pressure on pages that are in existence that aren't really driving anything.
Yeah, so usually the process for that is like so there's certain pages that mightn't be driving anything, but for instance, they might have a lot of backlinks, but somehow they fit into the structure. So ideally what we do is audit the site and come up with a list of pages that can be, instead of kind of working back from a number, because what we'll find is a lot of the pages, for instance, you might have pages that have good ranking for something but low traffic, which means that would be an optimization target instead of a culling target, or other instances. So we'd have to use specific data points to identify what is valid to be culled. So we mightn't come near a number like that is the target, but it's safer to use this process to identify what can be removed or redirected instead of taking chunks out of the site and then later seeing kind of tanks in traffic or some kind of impact down the road. It's I suppose just data back decision making makes it a little bit safer and easier of a process.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Data is going to win the day. We can't have emotion in this project. Everything needs to be like I call them spreadsheet decisions. Like that way, it's not my thinking versus your thinking. It's just, hey, look at this. Like this is not effective. Why are we putting any effort into it? So I'm with you. I added that as an action item as well. Okay, so getting into just like the tactical, how we work, what would be most optimal. I just added some links. We'll add the people working on this work in this channel. We have this OKR that I just shared. I put everybody in here. We can adjust this as we go along. We'll create issues out of this epic, and manage the work through there. We run on a 2-week sprint cycle on our team. I would love so much if I could make a campaign to everybody on this to come to our sprint cycle and work within this sprint cycle. High level, you can see here, it's Monday, the sprint begins. We do sprint planning, which you can see here. Wednesday, we do an async sprint release. So what we're trying to do is minimize the amount of meetings, maximize the amount of time we have to work on things. So here we say, hey, this is what we're shooting towards. This is what we want to release by next Wednesday. We, do our work, have our heads down. Monday, we kind of start popping a few message in Slack, with our confidence level or any changes we're making to what we're going to release based on our progress. And then Thursday, you can see here, we do a sprint release video celebrating what we did, and then a retro, which is just what went well, what could have gone better, how are we going to keep getting better at that. So my goals, like why this? It's really, I just want visibility. I want us to be able to all see what everybody's working on, and then coordination. And if we can work in this way, then we can add, we've got a couple boards built. I would love to be able to add everybody who's relevant and doing work within our digital experience project. Here, what we're looking at is our current sprint or our current iteration. And this is our whole team's in here, so we can see what everybody's working on. I'd love to see, everyone who's contributing to this work have a board in this project so that we are aware of who's working on what, who needs what. Oh, did I put the same link there? I think I put the same link. What was I actually trying to do there? Current planning. Okay. Yeah, and then this is everything all up, so not broken into by person. This is really useful for Craig and other people who are just keeping an eye on all of the work that we're doing. We can see some weight points, so it just gives visibility into what's being worked on, or like what's coming and what's doing, so what we're actively working on. Would the group, I think that's all I need to share the agenda for. Is the group open to coming to working on this sprint cycle?
Okay, I'll ask the dumb question.
No dumb
I'm
question.
happy to help, as you well know. I just don't know what you would need. I mean, as the content rep here, what do you need me to work on?
That was what I was going to ask.
Thank you, not just me.
I'm happy to help, but I'm not quite sure, other than identifying pages that might be available to be culled according to SEO optimization approval. I don't really know what you want.
We're going to need so much content, so that I guess I could just talk through how I see something working, or like a change being made to make it a little bit more real. So I could see, let me go back to this. I'll share my screen again. I could see, I'm going to pick on Francis just because you're first over here. And your involvement, I believe, is content related as well. So I could see an issue or an epic, like maybe there's a sub epic to this epic for the why GitLab pages. And then in there are issues for the why GitLab over GitHub. There's a design issue, there's an engineering issue, and there's a content issue. And there's probably a brand issue, or like a design, like a brand assets issue, because that's what makes up a web page, right? Words, nice pictures, and it works in a certain way to drive a specific goal. So I could see that what I need from content people, let's talk about a category leadership page. So DevOps, we have this page, but it's gonna retain primarily a lot of the awareness level stuff that it does, but there could be a change. Like we could need a little bit of change in the content, or we could need a new image here. So we would write issues for those needs. We've been trying to do this in the past and having some challenges with getting brand assets and content historically. I know, Jess, you and I have been working on trying to get improvements there. So once these issues are there and they're assigned to an individual, you know about them, and we can see that, oh, okay, Val's working on this, or she's got this on her to-do list in this sprint. We can expect that she will either move it forward this sprint or give us an update that I know that this is on my list. I'm moving this into the next sprint cycle because of XYZ. So it's really for very specific needs, nothing like, no big like strategic sort of like stuff. It's for output.
I think just to point out one of the things in terms of the topics pages, that's already kind of pipelined. So much of what we do with the DevOps page is pipelined over the coming months for all the topics pages, as well as additional pages that are going to be needed for the new solutions launch and such as that. So that kind of, there might be a bit of an overlap there, maybe I'd say.
Awesome. Well, then we could we have a I'll show you this other thing we made, because this is like a common gotcha using GitLab, especially amongst many different projects, and the fact that our code base, well, what's nice about this buyer experience is the code base is in the same project, but in the www repo, it's in different areas. So we have this template that's just really like a directional template. So if a body of work is being worked on in an issue that's in a different project, we just have this simple one that says, can you just put like copy and paste the title to it and the link to it? And we know that this is not where this work is happening, but by making this issue, it's now being tracked on this board as part of this this initiative. So definitely not interested in getting people to do things twice, just trying to add some product management principles around coordination to make sure that we have visibility and we're tracking towards a successful outcome.
So I have another question. And forgive me if this is sort of off topic, but I'm not sure. I know what's going on in our team. I'm not sure what's going on in other teams, but I know over the past 12 to 24 months, we have requested updates to certain pages. Is part of this culling and reshaping of these pages going to incorporate, I'm assuming other teams have made similar requests, those updates to, like, for us, I know the dreaded us saying we want this /customers page updated. Is that going to be included in this?
Potentially. I'm very happy that we didn't make those changes, because that would have led to rework. We have an excellent brand refresh project going on. We're very close to doing that. If you look at this issue, you can look at the little legend. 10 pages is what good looks like. I'm trying to push us to like 15 to 20 pages with the new brand rollout. So if you look through this, you'll see the little star, or if you look through the spreadsheet or the table, you'll see if the page is considered able to deliver the brand rollout. So on the customer case study pages, that is not planned at this time.
Understood. So as far as what you'd be asking for us, and apologies again if this is reiterative of what you've just said, are we expected to go and determine what pages need content updates, or are y'all, as you're updating these, going to create those issues and tag us in to request that that reference content?
Yeah, I think in my mind's eye, that's more something that Jess would lead, looking at the UX of the page and the content that's currently there and how we might want to tell that story a little bit more, and then connecting with Adam and the brand team from a category leadership and brand perspective. Like it is more like everybody together, but in my experience, it's typically when you're looking at the blueprint of the page, it becomes pretty obvious that like this is the behavioral economics of the page and how we should communicate. The customer reference team input was also I would love your input on, like, in solutions, we have a by industry section. And I thought of y'all because, you know the actual customers and the content and like the use cases and wins that then we could kind of surface into this section as well. So that's like, I think where a lot of your intelligence could really help us
Yeah,
deliver
and
something really great.
that's where my question about the slash customers page came in, because I'm over here, chatting with Laura. And I think that we could provide customer content for those industry pages, but it would also be helpful if we could link them to just the customer's page on those pages so they could self-educate further. And that's where the concern of, if we're linking them to a page that's sort of hard to navigate and doesn't surface all of that content as readily as one may have hoped, seeing if that was part of this effort. I understand that it's not, and that it'll be further out, but that will be sort of the approach we take, and also hoping that we can link to that page.
Totally agree.
Cool.
The hope.
Michael, I just want,
Sorry, is that
can I just
Eli?
clarify? Some of these are
Jess.
net new pages, right? Like that
Some of these
banking
are
page
net new
you just pointed
pages.
out.
Yeah.
So that's where we would need a lot of content help, something that doesn't exist already. We need content for.
Okay.
We're not just calling down what's there, but trying to like rethink some things as well. So there are some like brand new pages. And to, I think Jennifer's point earlier, we can definitely tag you in things that we need content for. And I think if we do that audit that Niall was talking about at first of like, should we cull it or should we optimize it? Like if it's a page we need to optimize, we definitely would want to talk to content about that as well.
Great. That would be much more doable for our team. Just, it goes much more in line with our workflow, people requesting reference content and us being like, we don't have it, and or we have it, and or we're going to make it. So cool.
I think maybe what is it, the doctors, is it the Hippocratic Oath? I don't know, that word's in my head. It's like our approach should be
do no harm.
Do no harm. Exactly. I approach a lot of A/B tests like this, like do no harm. If it turns out to be better, that's great, but like our bar should not go lower than do no harm.
Michael, will we have, this is Sandy.
Whoops, hey Sandy.
Sorry. Will we have the opportunity to, in the course of the design of these pages, make it so that when content needs to go in and update, like Niall and I just did with the DevOps page, that it's much more straightforward to content, than what we kind of found with the DevOps page, which had been hyper designed. So we had to kind of jury rig around it to get in our updates. Is this an opportunity to do that where it's pretty content friendly? Because I can see like DevOps topics page maybe slipping again for whatever reason, and we would have to go in and make tweaks to it. And it would be great if we could do it as the content team and not have to pull in design and waste your time with it.
Yeah, I mean, everything totally. And thinking past this project, things that this opens up for us is we have a smaller experience, less pages, makes it a lot easier to add a CMS to everything, solving everybody's problems, having something that works like it should have worked 10 years ago. So I'm with you. My thinking on this is deadline usually dictates what we can deliver. So yes to everything. And then when it comes to what can we deliver by that deadline, then that's when prioritization comes in. So I'm not saying no to it yet, but we may as a group need to say no, and not in terms of no, it's more like not right now. But okay. I want to get to that future state too. It's
I think that where she's headed is, you and I have talked, Michael, about, I used to be able to maintain my own solution pages, and then the web team changed stuff and I couldn't even find where it went. Found it then and was able to do that. The content changes, some of that changes kind of frequently, especially things like customer references, or assets we want to drive people to or whatever. And not that we want to redesign the page, but we may need to add some things or tweak a message if we've done some research to find that something needs to be updated or what have you. And having the ability to do that without asking Mother May I is super important to keep us from having a bottleneck.
Right. Okay. So let's this theme is governance. Governance is not part of this project, but it is. I'm hearing it as something that is a quick follow. Like we can, while this work is happening, let me think through that and how we can get the right people to come up with this governance. And I think as a marketing org, like we need to align on it.
I'm just going to say though, we're all on the same team here. Like, is it governance or is it simply access? Because I just want to say, super excited to see our DevOps page hit page 1 in Google, but it took Sandy and Niall 3 hours to make the updates because of the way the page is constructed. You have to do little bits at a time, and that's just not efficient.
To make sure you didn't break anything,
right.
like
It's
yeah,
just
think
not
of this in terms of so what's an analogy I can use? Like supply chain comes to mind. What we are doing is we are using better ships. We're using bigger warehouses first. That's going to have the greatest impact and the biggest business value. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move the things around within the warehouse. So if we find out like, oh, if I move the bolts to the right and the screws to the left, that means we can make changes faster. We will get there, but the sequence of priority is macro then to those micro, not that it's a small thing, but like relatively macro change that then makes the micro changes more effective. And I know the pain though. It's been like that for 2 years. It's terrible.
Yeah, I have a quick follow-up. So I see, and I'm blind, as is obvious, right? Where's the blog and all this on your list of things? I didn't actually see the blog,
it's
but
in the right column, the very, very right column.
Okay.
Third from the top, resources, docs, blog.
Okay, and what's the I'm sorry, I'm just not looking at.
We're not going to touch it yet because it's currently running using a CMS. Very, very complicated due to scope and timeline. I'm trying to really control those bounds. But all of those things, like in the right column, very, very important. And I want to make sure we do them right and not just kind of half-ass them and just move sand from one corner of the sandbox to the other.
Okay.
So I have a couple of questions. How are we going to prioritize? So there's a whole lot of things in your Epic. How are we prioritizing what happens in which sprints?
We will do that collectively. I don't have an answer for that yet. I start very ambiguously. I'm very comfortable in ambiguity. It requires a lot of trust from the group and a lot of enrollment. So I ask for patience, and I also can't figure it out on my own. That's why we need this single point of contact group. Give us this. We just started a sprint on Monday. It's full of like non-related stuff to this, but if you can give like me and Jess and Lauren just this till next week to kind of wrap our heads around just like the core of what we need, we can come back to the group and say, okay, we've made things a little bit more clear. Like, here's how we see next steps. How does this feel to everybody? So we're kind of in the messy start right now, but we will get to those answers collectively.
Okay, the reason I ask is, we're pivoting towards solutions and we're doing a big rollout at SCO, which is March 15th, and trying to make all the pieces line up so that the story is consistent, whether they go to HighSpot or they go to a web page or they go to a handbook resource. So just I have some desired timings in there for some of that. And then the other question that I had is the product team has these product direction pages, and I know that you've got in your plan product oriented pages. Let's make sure that we're aware and conscious of what the product team has and not duplicating their pages, because they are marketing-ish. They have videos on how to use it, what it is. To me, it bleeds into marketing a lot more than most product pages would, because it's maintained by the product managers, not PMM. but just to bring that up and make sure everybody's aware that those are there. You know, maybe it's just a matter of navigating to them, or maybe it's a matter of putting some guidelines and asking them, hey, when you do these pages, could you include XYZ or what have you? But food for thought.
Yeah, we'll sort that out. I think we're at time, like right at time. So feel free to drop if you have to. But yeah, we'll take it all in. We're gonna take it all in. We're gonna make the best decisions. Then we're gonna do what's right for our experience. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for being open to jumping in this call so quickly. This is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be crazy. And thanks for your support.
Thanks for collaborating.
Bye.
Bye.